Now, motorsport cars are already so fast and powerful that most are not street legal. And this begs the question, how in the world are there cars that are not even legal for motorsports? Why were they banned? Well, in this video, I'll tell you about 10 cars banned from motorsports because they were too powerful. Seatbelts on? Let's go. Now, every motorsport lover and enthusiast knows that the Le Mans 24 Hours is one of the hardest races that race car drivers will ever face. The burden of winning such a race is on the driver, the car company and the racing team. To win the Le Mans, every car company interested in winning needed to have a car and driver that could get the job done. One car that did the 24 hours against all odds is the Mazda 787B, which has now become one of the coolest cars to ever participate in the 24-hour race. In 1991, the Mazda 787B was the car that got Mazda its first ever endurance victory. The R26B rotary engine gave around 900 horsepower, and this was an insane achievement for Mazda because the most powerful car at the time, the Sauber Mercedes, only went up to around 730 horsepower. The rotary engine they used made it so that the car used more fuel than its competitors. This let the 787B outlast all the other cars, winning the Le Mans 24 Hours in 1991. Sadly, rotary engines were banned from motorsport in 1992 because they gave an unfair advantage to the cars that used them. Yes, the Mazda 787B was banned from motorsport, but it became the first and only rotary engine powered car to win Le Mans. Banning Japanese cars because of unfair advantages seemed to be the trend in the late 90s, because the 1992 Nissan Skyline GTR R32 also suffered the same fate as the Mazda 787B. The R32 was introduced in 1990 with the hopes of competing in the Australian Touring Car Championship. Before it got banned in 1992, the R32 had won 29 consecutive races in the Japanese Touring Car Championship between 1990 and 1992. The obvious superiority of the race car earned it the nickname Godzilla, with its twin-turbo 6-cylinder, which meant it delivered more than 270 horsepower. This car was so powerful that after it won the ATCC the same year it entered, the race's governing body had to rewrite the rules of the game to exclude turbocharge and all-wheel drive in the coming years. The technology of the R32 was deemed so advanced that the US government placed a 25-year import ban on the car. Regulations became so restricted that the R32 was completely pushed out of racing. I'd be mad at a 29 winning streak to ATCC. NASCAR races were child's play to the Dodge Charger Daytona in the early 70s. The huge rear wing and aerodynamic fittings gave this car an edge like nothing that was seen at the time. The nose cone in the front carried its huge 7-litre engine, which meant that it could hit higher speed than the other NASCAR race cars. In 1970, the Dodge Daytona became the first car to pass 200 miles per hour at the Talladega Superspeedway, starting something called the Aero Wars. After the first win in 1970, the Plymouth Superbird and Ford Torino Talladega, along with the Daytona, constantly dominated NASCAR because of their aerodynamics. Eventually, after being considered too powerful and advanced for NASCAR, the body reduced the engine limit to 5 litres compared to the Daytona's 7 litres. By 1971, the Daytona, along with the Superbird and Ford Torino, could no longer compete. Although the Daytona didn't just become useless after being banned, it became a collector's item. Today, an original Dodge Charger Daytona can cost anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million. Making waves on and off the racetrack, aren't we, Daytona? Now, imagine being banned because another car company was petty. This was the fate of the 2001 BMW M3 GTR. After the M3 GTR was left behind by the Porsche 911 GT3 RS in the American Le Mans series, BMW went back to the drawing board and came back with a better engine. The M3 GTR was fitted with a 4-litre P60 B40 V8 engine that was built by BMW. This new V8 engine had an output of 460 horsepower, and the M3 GTR had a chance to win. And win it did. Because of this new engine, the M3 GTR won 7 out of 10 rounds at the 2001 Le Mans. Porsche was pissed. They were so pissed that they told the regulating body for ALMMS that BMW was supposed to have a road equivalent for the M3 GTR. BMW responded to this challenge and provided 10 road equivalent cars of the M3 GTR. Porsche wasn't satisfied, and by 2002, ALMS asked BMW to sell 100 cars and 1,000 units of the engine they built. That was just unrealistic considering the time and time frame. The M3 GTR was disqualified because of this. That's so not cool, Porsche. Now, very few cars won the Grand Prix the year they were launched. The Brabham BT46B won the Swedish Grand Prix in 1978, and the story surrounding its ban afterwards is quite interesting. The fastest car during that period in Formula 1 racing was the Lotus 79, and the owner of Brabham, Bernie Ecclestone, discovered that the BT46B was faster than the Lotus 79. The car had a fan at the rear of the engine bay, which cooled the engine, therefore increasing downforce and making the car faster. Because of this, Ecclestone told his drivers to drive slower than the car could allow, so they could hide just how fast the car was. And guess what? Even the slow speed was too fast for the other competitors. Crazy, right? Eventually, F1 rules revealed that any feature that was used to generate downforce had to be fixed. However, the car had to be banned because there was no way to ensure its safety rate. Now, using illegal parts has gotten quite some cars banned, but one of the most popular ones is the Toyota Celica GT4 ST205. The ST205 made waves in the World Rally Championship and Japanese Motorsports, as it was the most powerful Toyota Celicas to be ever made. While the export model delivered 239 horsepower, the Japanese version release had up to 252 horsepower. The ST205 continued to make waves until the 1995 World Rally Championship, when Toyota was banned for using illegal turbo restrictors. The car had put Japan on the map when European countries were winning the WRC at the time. At least the Toyota Celica didn't cause the death of anyone. The same cannot be said of the Lancia Delta S4, which led to the death of Finnish driver Henri Toivonen. The Lancia Delta was a Group B rally car, and what happened led to all Group B rally cars getting banned. The Lancia Delta delivered 550 horsepower. The speed of the car at the time was too high for a car that rallied dirt roads and public roads. The safety concerns of this car were already high until its unfortunate incident in 1986. Henri Toivonen and his co-driver Sergio Cresto were leading the Tour de Corse rally when the Lancia Delta S4 plunged into a trench and exploded. There was no one near to witness what actually happened because of how far ahead the Lancia Delta was. Only the frame of the Delta remained after the explosion. The men died, and a few hours after their deaths, the president of FISA at the time, Mari Balestre, banned all Group B cars. By far one of the strangest looking cars ever entered into the 1970s race, the Chevrolet Chaparral 2J was out of place during its time. This car had two fans which were installed under the car to increase downforce for the two powerful engines used to power the car. One of the engines was an all-aluminum small block V8 engine, and another one acted as a spoiler. The engine delivered around 650 to 750 horsepower, and this gave the car an unfair advantage in the Can-Am series. Eventually, the car had to be banned, because the fans were once again considered illegal aerodynamics for race cars. The strange and fascinating race car won a few times in the Can-Am series before being banned. Rally cars will always be fascinating to watch, and one of the best ones to look at will always be the Audi Quattro S1. This was the first four-wheel drive rally car before any other company started making them. One of the best features of this case was the 2.1 litre engine that produced 470 horsepower. The Quattro S1 entered the World Rally Championship many times and won the 1985 San Remo Rally before it was banned in 1986. The reason for the ban was that the Quattro S1 was too powerful to control. It looks like the majority of the cars banned on this list were because they won. That's just being jealous, isn't it? Anyway, this ban led Audi to give up on Group A rally racing altogether. While all the other cars on this list were banned because they weren't road safe, this last car was banned because it flew too close to the sun. Okay, maybe not literally, but the Lotus 56 literally had a turbine engine that you would find in a jet. The Lotus was built for the 1968 Indianapolis 500, and it was by far the most advanced race car at the time. The engine could provide up to 500 and 600 horsepower, and the piston-powered cars had nothing on the Lotus 56. Eventually, regulations required that the air intake of the engine be reduced by 35%, and it seemed like there was going to be work done on it, but the race car was completely banned a few months later. Unfortunately, the Lotus 56 never won any race before it was banned. Now, these cars may be weak compared to the new cars in the world of motorsports, but it doesn't change the fact that they were more powerful than many cars at the time that were allowed. So, what cars do you think should have been on this list as well? Let me know, and thanks for watching.